feel a lot of our ethics in communication are being stood on end and challenged by the communication behaviors of our current executive branch. But that's just my opinion. But what is it that makes communication ethical or unethical? To answer this question, we're going to have to dissect some messages, open them up, and see what makes them tick. Communication is an essential aspect of conducting business in every industry in America. According to a sincere blog on the topic, communication is the key to workplace productivity and efficiency. The blog lists concerns about safety, clarity, and execution as prime examples of communicating messages in the industrial fields. In a more general business sense, a blog by an Austrian Institute of Business lists 6 reasons for effective business communication. According to the blog, proper business communication plays a fundamental role in day-to-day efficient operation as it builds and maintains relationships, facilitates innovation, builds an effective team, manages employees, contributes to growth of the company, and ensures transparency. Already I'm coming up with some contradictory evidence here, as our current political rhetoric and debate. How often do they encourage efficiency? How often do they do anything for maintaining relationships, building a team? And how, of course, does any of this contribute to the growth of America? And lastly, but most importantly, how transparent are these communications in American politics? To me, they don't seem so transparent. But let's continue our dissection of the messaging process. In this discussion, we're going to cover 2 types of business communications: informative messages and persuasive messages. Some may argue that informative messages have no intent to persuade and are simply used to provide information. However, an example of informative messages that do have an intent to influence include some messages about safety and execution, as mentioned earlier in this video. According to Michael Putnam of the University of Texas, Arlington, informative messages are designed to influence understanding, to make it clearer or more developed. They're not designed to change or reinforce opinions, though sometimes that occurs as a side effect. The difference lies primarily in what the source intends. With persuasive messages, the intent is overt and clearly indicated. Informative messages may have intent, but consciously try to reject displaying such an attitude. Whether the message is persuasive or informative, there are still 2 types of approaches that work in the gray area between the intent of the message. They are referred to as the direct approach and the indirect approach. Direct approach messages will typically state the purpose of the message and will provide a roadmap of message content. The roadmap typically follows the introduction, body, conclusion, or closing format. The indirect approach proves to be a little more complicated than that process. Perhaps you've gotten an indirect message before whenever you've been rejected by a college, university, or a job application, or even whenever you tried to get a loan and they sent you one of those letters. This concludes part 1 of this series on ethics in communication in business. But I'd like to leave you with this last slide, the slide that we started off this discussion with. And we asked the question, does the political rhetoric that is occurring in America today, does it play a fundamental role in doing these things? I see nothing about relationship building. I see nothing about team building. I see partisan politics. And I'm not sure how, if we are not playing a fundamental role, how any of this can contribute to the growth of America. And with a general lack of transparency, I would believe, that exists in our current debates, we should do better. I'll see you in part 2.